Hey, travel biz owner. Welcome to the summer selling series on the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur podcast. Let's gear up for a summer of sales and learn from top industry experts how to demystify some of your favorite or most intriguing destinations or products. Let's dive in. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is our third episode in the summer selling series, and I am so excited because Kathy and I have already been chatting about lots of different things. So this is going to be a really, really neat episode. We are going to be talking about Spain and Portugal. And we're going to also talk about the very unique parts. I told Kathy my roots are most likely from Spain because my family's from Puerto Rico, but I've only visited Spain twice and it was both for very short visits. So she already has a wealth of knowledge. We've just started chatting for like 10 minutes, but I could tell we're going to talk lots of different things, Spain and Portugal. So really dig in. You might have to take a lot of notes or just listen in a couple times. But without further ado, please welcome Kathy from Titanium Tours.
Thank you so much for having me, Rita. This is amazing. I truly cannot wait to tell you all about my favorite spots.
Yeah, yeah, and it was so cool because you also mentioned that you are not from Spain, you're actually from Germany, which I didn't tell you, but I used to work in the German pavilion at Epcot. And so I was there maybe like a year or a year and a half, so I have lots of German friends. So I'm like, it's just interesting how all the everything intersects with each other.
That's amazing. I love this. This is great.
Yes. So how did you come to love Spain and come to working with Titanium Tours?
Well, two stories. So, first of all, I don't know, since I can think, my parents took me to Spain, you know? In Germany, it's really like you have this 2 weeks in summer, and my parents took the time and went to Spain, either
Uh-huh.
if it was mainland or the islands, but it was always staying at one hotel, my parents, not doing anything or just
Mhm.
taking us to water parks and just having a great summer because I can't really rely on the summer in Germany, let's put it that way, right? And we just needed that vitamin C and vitamin D from the
Mm.
sun, So I think since a little girl, I felt for this language, for the lifestyle and stuff like that. And then I also always was kind of good with the language
Uh-huh.
probably because of that. And so I started taking Spanish classes and I started working in a hotel in one of the islands. Then I
Nice.
studied in Barcelona, did my master program there. Truly always I felt like don't tell them, but I feel like I'm adopted. So probably it's from
Yeah.
there. But I always felt so much more connected, right?
Uh-huh.
And there was this instant connection with Jesus when I was a former travel advisor and I went to one of the conferences and we met and he was there for titanium tours. You know, I think half a year or a year later, he reached out to me and he was like, I kind of need help and I think you might be a good fit. And I'm like, I'm down. What am I doing? So immediately because I just love I first of all, I love what Titanium Tours does. I
Uh-huh.
wish there would have been somebody like Titanium Tours before, because when I was a travel advisor, there was no DMC you could work with, and Titanium Tours just does such an amazing job in what we
Okay.
do, and being locals and really knowing what we're doing and knowing our areas. But also for me, representing these areas and being able to talk about all the great vacations that I did when I was a child. So,
Uh-huh.
you know, it's really just for me, it's like talking all these stories. That's how I ended up at Titanium Tours and how I ended up in Spain and loving Spain so much.
Oh gosh, I love that. I'm like just your energy just brings like a different level. So I'm like it's just like a happy and delightful conversation.
Thank
Um
you.
I know most people know like the big metropolitan. We've talked a little bit about Barcelona, Madrid. But can you give us the lay of the land at like what some of the major regions for Spain would be? And I know we're gonna get to Portugal too later on.
Right. Of course. I mean, if you really look at it also logistic wise, right? It makes
Mhm.
sense to fly into Madrid. It makes sense to fly into Barcelona, even have it as a stop sometimes to go somewhere else. And it is always worth staying there, especially also with pre and post cruises.
Mm.
Makes a lot of sense. But if you're interested in really getting to know Spain and Portugal, take your time and also come back, right? I
Uh-huh.
always like to say you always need a reason to come back because you can't see everything
Right.
at once and during one trip. Really take a moment. You know, Spain lives by its vibe to inhale and live the street life as well.
Mhm.
Have a paella on the street and just do people watching with the sangria and stuff like that. So always come back. But if you go to the main spots, it's also worth it to look a little bit outside, like go outside of Madrid, go outside of Barcelona.
Mm.
Barcelona is located at a beautiful coastline. And, you know, if you rent a car or even a motorcycle, for those who dare to do that, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. The coastline is just stunning, right?
Uh-huh.
And very close to Barcelona, you have Andorra. If you want to have another country crossing off your checklist, Andorra is considered a country, so you can put that on your list to visit. And it is so unique and so quaint. I loved it there actually, and it's very close. So, you know, when you go, you probably start with Madrid and Barcelona, probably Seville. So, these are the main regions for Spain that
Mhm.
I think you want to cover first. But while being there, add another day and do something outside. Yes, of course, visit the Alhambra, but maybe you want to go to Ronda from Seville. It's one of the white towns, white villages in south of Spain, and it is just gorgeous. It's tiny, but it's so worth going there, right?
Mhm.
So while you're visiting the main spots, dedicate some extra time to the smaller spots around there, and then come back for the hidden gems, you know?
Yeah. Would you say that some of these like smaller spots are really good day trips from the main cities?
100%. For
Okay.
example, you can go to Valencia from Barcelona, Sitges, Girona is nice too. Um, and these are all day trips, right? So it's
Okay.
very easy. Runda from Seville, you can do that. You can, I did it even in, it was a long day, but I stayed in Andalusia, I stayed in Marbella and went for a day to Sevilla. So, and
Okay.
the train system is incredible. So
Yeah.
you can do that too, and it's not even stressful. You know,
Okay.
you take your bottle of sangria wine on the
Yes.
train, and then you make it a whole trip. So it's absolutely possible. Yes, for sure. And you should do that.
Oh, that's awesome. Because I know you had also mentioned that, would you say it's pretty simple to drive around Spain or it's pretty easy?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
definitely it is. But also remember that, you know, I'm coming from a European country, so I'm
Right.
used to smaller streets. After living in LA for 14 years, yes, I'm used to traffic, but I'm also used to really big, you know, streets. And especially if you go in Barcelona and if you go the coastline, yes, those are narrow streets, they are curvy. So always remember that, right?
Okay.
And always remember, the one who's driving can probably not enjoy the view so much. So, as much fun as it is, you might want to consider a train or a private driver if your partner or if the person you're traveling with is not the biggest fan of like, oh, I love to drive these roads,
Mhm.
right? So maybe that would be an alternative as well. But it's a gorgeous drive, but it's narrow streets, yes.
Yeah. What would you say are like the top things travelers end up in Spain to do? I know we were talking a lot about food, and that's a huge thing for me. I love talking about different destinations and their food. But you had also mentioned like hiking and biking and then certain areas for a beach. I know we're going to talk about the islands a little bit more, but what would you say are like some of the big draws for somebody to visit Spain?
It's definitely the culture that
Mhm.
draws a lot of people there, the architecture. I feel like
Oh, yes.
Barcelona is the architecture.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a friend visiting me in Barcelona who studied architecture, and it was just like it doesn't even have to be one of the famous buildings. It doesn't
Oh,
even have to be Dali.
yeah.
You just stroll through the city center and you're like in awe and you look up and it's so different and it's magnificent, I have to say.
Hmm.
So they will really go there for the architecture and but also shopping, huh? Shopping
Oh,
is
yes.
Oh my God. I mean, if you go to Madrid or Barcelona, take an extra suitcase. Really. For all the girls out there, I can tell you it's great.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
then would you say, because I know obviously tapas, we were talking about sangria. What would you say are like the big things? Or are there like any big like tours? Or could people just do food, like their sole focus is food when they visit?
Well, yes, because I mean the Spanish food is famous, and the seafood, of course, in the regions
Uh-huh.
of like, when you go to Andalusia, when you go to Barcelona, paella, of course.
Yeah.
And when you're in Barcelona, you have to go to La Boqueria, which is the great market, and I'm always, you know, amazed by the colors there, and it's so big. And I always feel you do want to do a cooking class there. You want to
Oh.
learn like how you do a paella or tapas, but you also want to go to local places, you want to
Hmm.
go a little bit outside. You definitely don't want to eat on Las Ramblas. Yeah, it's easy to do that, but you will also notice that it is A, very expensive, and B, not as good as a local
Right.
place, right?
Right.
So, and so always try to find a local place, and they serve the tapas when you go to a bar. They serve the tapas actually for free there.
Hmm.
So if you order a drink, you get the tapas for free. That is where the tapas are coming from. And then of
Uh-huh.
course you have the very exclusive ones, right?
Yes.
And but definitely don't be shy. I mean, honestly, you can eat so good and try a lot of different things.
Hmm.
You have them. It can be simple things. I mean, a bocadillo, which is just the baguette with some cold cut and cheese on it, so good.
Okay.
So different.
I'm like, my mouth is watering
Yeah,
now.
me too. It just popped up in my head. The image of it was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
those were good.
Because then when I think of Spain, then I also think of flamenco.
Of course, especially in the south,
Uh-huh.
especially. And you can have a beautiful night. If you go to a flamenco show or in Barcelona, there's Plaza Real where you go.
Yes.
I remember they had incredible shows, and there you can experience with food as well. And by the way, these flamenco shows, and now we're kind of like going to Portugal, right?
Hmm.
But you have these shows, and it's not flamenco, but it is Alfama. It's a show where you sing, and these are dedicated to actually all the people that went to see, and never knew if they would come back. So it is a famous song, not just a song, but it is a famous traditional art to sing for those who went on ships and boats and they didn't know if they would come back. So it was the mothers that were actually kind of like, it's a sad feeling, and it's a heavy song
Uh-huh.
usually, but it's beautiful. It's very beautiful if you go to one of those Fama shows.
Okay. Well, that's good to
Kind of
know
the
too.
equivalent, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know we've talked a lot about mainland Spain, and I
Mhm.
feel like that's when people think about Spain, like that's what they're thinking about. But then we were chatting before we started recording, just the richness of culture and experiences on the different islands that
Yeah.
Spain has, and then also that Portugal has. This summer selling series is brought to you by the Cruise Content Library. Finding stock vertical videos for your social media marketing is not easy. And I mean that good, juicy, quality content that paints a picture of the amazing cruise experiences and not just another drone footage of another ship. But I'm changing all that and putting my best content of over 1,000 vertical videos available to you inside the Cruise Content Library. Finally sell with video storytelling on your social media channels. Visit the link in the show description to save your spot So let's dive in to beach culture, but also getting a little bit of the personality of the islands and
Yeah.
what you can do on the different islands.
So if we start, for example, with Spain, and it's very easy to go from Barcelona to the Balearic Islands because they're in the Mediterranean,
Mhm.
and it's honestly all of them are beautiful, but they are so different. Now, for example, probably the most famous one is Ibiza.
Yes.
Ibiza, of course, very well known for the party scene, for the lounge, for the chill, and it is really cool. Has some of the most expensive clubs and day clubs. And it is a very chic, very summer style, right?
Mhm.
Um, I've known it for forever. And there's also, of course, the area where you have a lot of other clubs that are, accessible. But it's definitely the party island. Now you have Majorca, which is the biggest one. And I love Majorca for everything. Really, you find everything there. You find shopping, you find culture, you find beautiful beaches, really nice hotels, activities, if it is sailing, if it is hiking, biking, a lot of you can play tennis there. Oh my God, so many tennis courts. Truly, you can do everything there.
Uh-huh.
Majorca is amazing. You can rent a car and drive around and through the island. That's beautiful. And then you have Formentera. Now, Formentera is actually the Caribbean of the Mediterranean. That's what they say, with like crystal clear waters, turquoise. Formentera is mainly known for rental vacations. There are just a few
Oh.
hotels and not really high-end luxury. I think the best is a four-star Iberostar. Maybe that has even got a fifth
Oh.
star now. But what it brings also with rental vacation is repeating clients.
Okay.
So people who go to Formentera because there's so limited space already book it usually when they are on the island, and they make it their reservation for the next year because once you found your rental vacation, they love it and they
Uh-huh.
stay. And it doesn't have an airport, so you have to fly to Ibiza and then take the ferry. So if you want to experience two islands, you might want to go with Ibiza and Formentera together, have some party and fun, and
Uh-huh.
this lifestyle, and then this chic boutique chic lifestyle, and then you go to Formentera. That's absolutely doable. You can
Mhm.
also do a day trip to Formentera. And then we have Menorca. Menorca is a little bit the underdog. It's like
Okay.
you can go there, beautiful beaches, but really never picked up that hype and that fame like Ibiza or Majorca. But it's
Okay.
beautiful.
Okay, because that I remember we were talking about Majorca, and you were saying that it was very similar, or it used to be very similar to like what we know as Cancun in
Yes.
Mexico. So tell us
Yes.
more about that, because I found that like analogy really interesting.
It used to be like that for us.
Uh-huh.
That was 20 years ago when it started, all this fame because flights were so close. There were 5 flights daily from Europe, from Germany, and it was just so easy. You would go for a weekend getaway, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, but the island really changed and wanted to get rid of that reputation.
Uh-huh.
And there were two sides that were Calaratiana, and there is Palma, not Palma because that's more the city, but if you go to Arenal or Playa de Palma, that is where you still have these kind of party places, right? But other
Oh,
than that, it has completely reinvented itself and
okay.
became this boho chic and nice and really great vacation spot for families, couples, destination weddings, honeymoons, you name
Mhm.
it. It offers so much, and it has something for everyone. Still for the party people, don't get me wrong, huh?
Uh-huh.
But you have this style now that makes it very, very beautiful. And it's big enough to actually have all the different kinds of travelers. So that's
Yeah.
the beauty of it.
Oh, that's super sweet. Because I know you had also mentioned there's like even on certain islands, like there's some parts that would be really great for beach relaxation, and then there's other parts of the beach that you don't do that. It's more like for windsurfing, more for active sports.
Yes, and we see that especially in the Canary Islands, right?
Okay.
Because those you have to distinguish a lot. For example, if you go to Fuerteventura, which is the island with long white beaches, right?
Uh-huh.
Beautiful. But you have to know that you can only go to the east side of the island. The west
Okay.
side is heavy on wind. That's why it's also so famous for windsurfers. We
Hmm.
have the World Cup there usually. And
Oh.
it's yeah, and it's really nice. Fuerteventura has on the cultural part, not so much.
Uh-huh.
It's really for beach and relaxation water sports. But
Okay.
then we have Lanzarote and then we have Tenerife, which are amazing for families who are active, who want to explore, who maybe want to have this balance of a nice beach vacation, but a little bit extra, right? Let's go and explore the island, maybe have an outdoor activity. Lanzarote offers, it's a volcanic island and it
Hmm.
offers to visit the volcanoes actually. You can go on a camel ride, you have black beaches, there's a lot to explore. So, this is beautiful for families that want to discover a different landscape. And it's a dramatic one because of the lava that you have
Oh
everywhere, right?
yeah.
So, it's really nice. Tenerife is also very nice for families, but you have to know that the north is very different from the south because you
Okay.
have the mountain in between, the Teide, which is also the Teide is on Lanzarote. I'm sorry, that one is on Lanzarote, but you have the mountain on Tenerife that separates the climate from
Hmm.
the north and it keeps the clouds actually from coming to the south. So very different. And you have to know that you have two airports. You have TFS and TFN for Tenerife South and Tenerife Norte. So when you make your reservation, when you look into the island, make sure that you come to the sunny side.
Yeah. Well, and these are like, it's these little details that you help travel advisors to learn more about so that they can articulate better to their clients, like, yes, this is going to be for you.
Yeah.
No, this is not for you. Or maybe we should try this because it has this feature for you.
Exactly. And here's the thing, what I usually tell our travel advisors as well, sometimes you don't have to know for your clients where to send them to.
Hmm.
Just tell us what are their interests and hobbies and preferences, and maybe we can come up with some ideas, that are from the mainstream and a little bit off the beaten path,
Yeah.
because we know the area so well.
Yeah, yeah, because I love that we're touching on this like almost non-traditional. While you were speaking to it, then made me think I'm like wine is also such a big thing in
Yeah.
Spain. So where are some of like the wine regions if that's what was somebody's interest, where would they be going?
Well, you have a fantastic area around Barcelona, but that is also more the cava, which
Uh-huh.
is the Spanish version of a champagne.
Okay.
But of course, as you know, you're not allowed to call anything champagne, which does not come
Right.
from the Champagne area, right? Then you have La Rioja, which is probably the most
Yeah.
famous, area. But you find wine everywhere,
Uh-huh.
in Spain. And what you have more is even in Portugal. And in Portugal, you have an incredible area in the Douro Valley, which is close to Porto. And of course, you have the famous port wine which you have to try because it's far from anything as wine. And then in Madeira, I was surprised. I did not know that they have their very own wine, which is very close to a port wine as well, but is also manufactured there. And I love that because if you know the island, it's not very famous and it's not very big. And I love that they
Mhm.
had their own take on port wine. So
Yeah.
you find wine everywhere, but the Douro Valley in around Porto in Portugal and
Mhm.
La Rioja.
Okay, because that I'm glad because I was like, oh, I think this is gonna bring us into Portugal. What would you say are the differences in like the personality of going to Spain versus the personality of Portugal?
Ooh, ooh, that's a good question. Okay, I'll go by a feeling here, okay?
Okay.
So I feel if you go to Spain, You go with a certain curiosity and expectation food-wise,
Okay.
food, architecture, and cultural-wise.
Okay.
And I believe when you go to Portugal, you don't have any expectations, but you're like,
Hmm.
maybe you're a little bit more like, okay, it's on the map right now. It's so hot. I've heard so many great things. It's so hip.
Hmm.
And then they want to go to Lisbon, and they probably have seen Lisbon and those cable cars, but that is as much as people know about Portugal,
Uh-huh.
I feel. And then they're always surprised. For example, the cherry liquor that they serve in Portugal, the pastel de nata. This is their
Mm.
favorite dish, or a favorite, or this is the most well-known dish, which is
Right.
a pastry, right? And so you can't even say dish, but it's a pastry. And then the wine in the Douro, that's what they know about Portugal. But I think that people come to Spain for different expectations. Like I said, the food, the wine, and the shopping and the culture. They come from for the culture. There are so many hotspots that you should visit in Madrid or in Barcelona. You have heard about Sagrada Familia, you go to Las Ramblas, things like that, right? You don't have that in Portugal. You don't have that. You don't have this specific, oh, you need to go to Plaza, whatever. You need to see the Castillo. Maybe they have heard about Sintra,
Uh-huh.
but I don't think it is as famous as Spain. So it's a really nice surprise, I think, when people go and have no expectations whatsoever.
I love that you mentioned it because as you were talking about that, it makes me almost think like Portugal might be a little bit more laid back because you don't have those
Yes,
expectations.
I like that. And you're right. Yes, it doesn't have this pressure
To check, check,
as
check.
maybe as you have when you go, I'm going to Madrid. You immediately have an image in mind, right?
Yes.
At least I do. But then you have like, I'm going to Portugal, I'm going to Lisbon. That's cool. I'm not immediately creating an image or an expectation. You're
Hmm.
right. Just just the expectation that it will be awesome and lovely.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say that people like what's the primary reason that people go to Portugal? Would you say it's to explore? Is it more to relax? Because I know like there's this famous beach area in Portugal as well that lots of people just go to chill out and they're just
Yes.
enjoying everything.
The Algarve, yes, you
Yes.
go there. It's beautiful, very dramatic, very different than Spain, I have to say, even though it's where they meet.
Right.
Um, but it's so funny because it changes, it becomes more dramatic. For those who have been to Los Cabos, for example, I see a lot of similarities to the
Interesting.
coastline there because you have those rocks in the water and you have, the coastline that's dramatic. But you don't have the long beaches as long as they are in Spain, in Andalusia, for
Hmm.
example, right? Um, and it's nice and gets very hot in the winter, by the way, in the summer, by the way. But I think primarily people would go to Portugal to explore actually Lisbon and Porto. And I think they have heard a lot about their wine. I
Uh-huh.
don't think that, outside of Europe, a lot of people actually come to Portugal just for the beaches.
Okay.
Not a destination for, oh, I want to go to the beach. No, they do
Okay.
extend maybe there, but it's not the prime reason.
Okay. All right. So when we're thinking about like combining a trip, like doing a little bit of Spain with a little bit of Portugal, what are some of like the touch points and like where are people going that would make this like a beautiful itinerary together?
All right. And we're thinking that they have never been, right? To
Yeah.
both. Okay. Let's say an average of 10 days, 10 to 12 days.
Okay.
Okay, good. Okay. I think what they should do is either Madrid or Barcelona, and then do Barcelona, Seville, Lisbon, Porto, four destinations. That gives you
Okay.
3 to 4 days for each destination. And then you have like a kind of a good idea. But that also gives you the spark to come back and the curiosity. It kind of like, you started tasting the
Yeah.
blood, so to say. Like you're like, oh,
Yeah.
now you're hooked. Now you want to go back.
Yeah. That's exciting because you were saying too that it's very easy to either rent a car and travel between these two countries or the train system, which just makes it seem like very simple and you might
Super.
stay at a hotel or you might stay I don't want to say a lodge per se, but maybe like something more intimate.
Yeah, 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 totally, totally. And you can do that. And there are beautiful, very authentic stays, huh? I
Uh-huh.
mean, even if you go and you can stay at a parador, you can stay at a finca. This is beautiful too. And you have that in south of Spain, especially around Seville. You
Hmm.
stay at very old, you know, don't want to say monasteries, but we have that too, right?
Mm.
And you can definitely drive. What you can do is you can also fly and it's so easy. So if you don't have the time or if you say, okay,
Okay.
from Lisbon to Porto, that's 3 hours by train. That's beautiful. But for example, from Seville to Lisbon, I would say don't drive, take the flight. If you don't have too much time on your agenda left, then it's so easy to just hop from one country to another. And there are so many different options that you can do, really.
Okay.
So
Oh,
it's not just
great.
you have to do it that way. Also, don't forget when you rent a car, it's doable, but cross country is always more expensive for the one-way drop-off fee. And for the you need to find a provider that actually has the insurance to drop it off in a different country because they are by the end of the day, there's still two countries.
Yes, I mean, and that's like something that I don't think most I know I wasn't thinking about that. I feel like since everything is European Union or like when we
Yeah,
think about Europe, European Union, everything is working in unison together, but also not necessarily because again, two different
exactly.
countries, different legalities and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So for cross country, really within Spain, within Portugal, easy. You can rent a car, but for that, maybe do a train or do the flight, just
Okay.
because you don't want to have this hassle with dropping it off in a different country, and it's unnecessary cost, I would say.
Okay.
But that
When
could be just me.
when you're thinking about sending somebody to Portugal, we were talking about Lisbon, we were talking about Porto. What are some of the big things that they're there to do? Because we were talking about like dancing and we were talking about like some of the architecture when it comes to Spain. What are those like go-to items or even like some of the hidden gems that people haven't thought about when it comes to visiting Portugal?
Just for the islands or hidden gems, you mean?
Ooh. Ooh, we can do the country or we can do the islands.
Well, I mean, whatever you prefer, but I think people would come to, of course, explore the main things, Lisbon and Porto, which
Uh-huh.
is also great because from there you take a flight to the islands, right? So you always can
Okay.
combine it very well when you're already there. And I think people come for they cut, well, it depends. When you do the islands, let's focus on that because we have to narrow that one down. When you do the islands, you definitely go for nature and off the beaten path because neither the Cape Verde, the Azores, or Madeira are islands that are heavily touristy, right?
Okay.
And you have to always remember that, right? They are still developing. So even though we have very nice hotels there, do not expect that, of course, that you have a full, logistic and not logistic, but infrastructure
Right.
as maybe you have it somewhere else, maybe in Madrid, Barcelona, that have been open for tourism for decades, right? The Azores have been, you know, hosting guests, yes, for a long time, but nature lovers, hikers, people who are more for the, I want to say, what is the right word? it's they don't come from for the luxury. They come
Uh-huh.
for a purpose, and the purpose is nature. The purpose is we stay here, we get up early in the morning, and we hike. So those were the beginnings of the tourism in the Azores and in
Uh-huh.
Madeira, right? And Madeira was actually also known for the climate, and they sent people who were sick with the lungs. So it was really more like they sent them to recover, actually.
Wow.
But from there, as a five-star hotel, and that's today, it's a Belmont actually. It's really nice. It's a very old place. But again, people still don't come for the luxury or the beaches. They come for outdoor. So you need to know that when we talk about the islands,
Uh-huh.
right? And you cannot expect a fully run five-star all-inclusive experience. By far not, if we talk about the islands, right?
Right. I
And that's
love
important to know.
I love how you mentioned that if they're going to the islands, they're going for purpose.
Yeah.
I don't think that I've heard anybody else say that before about any of the destinations, that it's very intentional in that way.
Yeah. It is. And we receive a lot of Azor requests.
Uh-huh.
And I love that. I just always want to be very upfront and very honest about it.
Hmm.
Um, that it is not a Caribbean island destination where you stay at the hotel and you have all the service and get pampered.
Uh-huh.
It's really to explore, and you do want to do different islands when you go to the Azores. It's worth it to explore them. And it's great, but it is very still a secluded place and a very it's a place to explore.
Okay. Would you say, because I know, I think you had mentioned it's not necessarily a luxury destination with all the amenities and things like that, but I feel like it's luxury in the sense that not a lot of people probably
Yeah.
visit. It's luxury that it seems like a little bit more private than maybe
Yes,
some of
yes,
the other
yes.
beachy beaches.
Yes, and we always try, we are high-end premium, right? So our
Uh-huh.
product is from the beginning, it's high-end. So private transfers and all the hotels start at 4 stars. So it is available. It is
Uh-huh.
available. But I think you really, nailed it saying, okay, even though you don't have, and I'm going back to, let's say, Los Cabos, where you have like the entire coastline, it's five-star, high-end
Right.
bling and glitter and glamorous, and everything is great and top notch. Yes.
Uh-huh.
And we do have really, really good hotels in the Azores as well, but they're focused on different things, and their service is exceptional and the
Hmm.
food is great, right? And our experiences are great because that's what we're looking for. But the concept is different, as you
Right.
say.
Right. Um, What would you say for a travel advisor that's wanting to pick up their sales for Spain and Portugal?
Uh-huh.
What would you say maybe are like the top three things to focus on?
When advertising,
Hmm. And talking with their clients about selecting a destination.
honestly, I would really depends a little bit on the client, right? But
Yes.
always, let's say, let's categorize it here. If you're more into cruises, right? Definitely sell pre and post. So worth it.
Right.
Lisbon, Porto, it's
Yeah.
so easy to travel within these destinations. Barcelona, from there you can extend. I mean, once you're already there, why not take the time?
Right.
And experience it and take a moment longer in that beautiful destination. Maybe have that extra day to go outside and experience the Spanish lifestyle or the Portuguese lifestyle because it's worth it, right? I think that might be a good marketing angle, but also maybe it's worth it. And I'm a huge advocate, and we talked about it about shoulder seasons, you know. advertise the shoulder season. Everybody's thinking about all the Christmas markets and the holiday markets in Switzerland, in Germany. And yes, they're beautiful, right? But what about these things in Spain and
Right.
Barcelona? We talked about it. Lights are up.
Yes.
It's gorgeous, right? And really try to think about that. Or try to think for those who would love to, try to get your mind a little bit out of destination weddings only in the Caribbean.
Hmm.
Maybe you want to do it on one of the islands in Spain.
I love that idea.
Right? Or Portugal, do it. I mean, yes, the beach is awesome. And if you have turquoise water, but now imagine that having a little finca in Majorca or having a parador in Portugal, right? Then you have those beautiful landscapes with the wine fields, maybe some olive trees, and the real European, Spanish, or Portuguese background. Honestly, I mean, that is one heck of a wedding or
Right.
one really nice honeymoon if you can stay there in a local space.
Well, and I'm just thinking too, the travel advisor that's able to differentiate themselves
Exactly.
with that, like that is your selling point. That is your niche. You might want to do destination weddings, but narrow it down even
Yeah.
further to the destination.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And we provide sample itineraries, of things that we have done. So I think Spain and Portugal really sell themselves, but use our marketing material from locals.
Mhm.
Even if you have never been, and I have that a lot at conferences where I'm saying, even if you have never been, that's why you have us for. We can set it up, we can teach you, I can tell me about your client and I tell you where to go. And
Yeah.
then we can find that. So, you know, try to advertise the area as such, really. Go for the shoulder season when it's not full, when prices are incredible,
Yeah.
incredible still. Right? I mean, we have prices in the US where you pay, what, $300 for an airport hotel?
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you
That's
find good hotels already. I mean, and it's worth looking into the local brands, by the way. Of course, a Four Season will always charge Four Season prices. Mandarin Oriental will always charge Mandarin Oriental prices, no matter where you are in the world.
Mhm.
But if you go for a local brand, we work with the Mercer Hotel, for example, in Barcelona and Seville. Stunning, like an art gallery. 13 rooms, and the people, the second you check in, they already know which milk you prefer in your coffee. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and they know you by name and everything, and it is not one of the big brands.
That's incredible. I feel like we could keep going on, but I know we're
Yes.
limited on time here.
No, I'm
And
sorry.
no, we're fine. I love like when we can jump and go through different topics, and I feel like
Yeah,
we've been really immersed in Spain and Portugal. If
I
anybody
hope so.
wanted to work with you as their preferred DMC for these destinations, what's the next thing that they should be doing, or how can they connect with you?
Super easy. It's just sending us an email. You don't need to get set up with us. You send an email to travel@titaniumtours.com and you send it over, and our travel designers will get back to you. That's as easy
Perfect.
as is.
Super easy, super simple. Well, this was a wonderful, wonderful episode. Thank you, Kathy, so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. Any last words that you want to mention?
Well, come to our beautiful destinations. Definitely. We love to have you. We love to work with travel advisors. We only work with travel advisors. So, and by all means, pick our brain, call me, send me an email. Thanks for listening today. I hope I was able to bring our beautiful destinations a little bit closer, and I truly appreciate for this opportunity and for inviting me, Rita. This was so
Thank
much fun.
you. Thank you. Thank you. And I also wanted to plug because you had recently won the Travel Age West Award, and that's kind of how you piqued my interest. And I was like, we've got to have them coming on the podcast for a summer selling series then.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. And yes, let me know. We do have two other destinations that we offer. So if you ever want to talk about France or Switzerland, we can do that too.
Ooh, sounds good. I know we had Switzerland earlier on, but France we might have to chat for the future.
Anything you need, you know that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kathy, and thanks, travel advisors. We'll see you here next time. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you so much for joining me on the Summer Selling Series. If you've got a travel biz friend that you think would benefit from this series, would you mind sharing this episode with them? All right, thank you again. I'll see you here next week.